How do you decide to hold on to a stock or sell some?
Well, that's a very good question. One of my smartest friends in venture capital is constantly getting huge clumps of stocks at nosebleed prices. And what he does is he sells about half of them always. That way, whatever happens, he feels smart. I don't follow that practice, but I don't criticize it either.
The interesting thing about Munger and AliBaba is that he has time and again expressed his admiration for sort of the autocratic way China runs its economy, often while also expressing his chagrin at how we run ours. So, I think that people understand with their sort of BYD investments and others that he may have the stomach kind of long term.
You have the risk appetite, right? Just
exactly.
dive in, which is a lot of people are doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. He's probably the most high profile person who could really kind of plant that stake in the ground.
So Bob Breidenthal, who is a PhD 1979 from aeronautical engineering, asked, so how would you rate investing in China with the current political tensions? Or are you invested in China through the ownership of American companies that do business in China?
Of course, I'm invested partly in American companies that do business in China, including Coca-Cola. But I'm also invested very significantly in China through the management of Li Lu, whom the Munger family backed heavily when he formed a little private equity firm to invest in China. And he has had a very successful record, and that's made me follow very closely the leading companies in China. And of course, I've had very successful experience there. And I think it's likely to continue. No other big country ever got ahead this fast for that long.
And does that say that sort of the politics don't matter so much, or?
Yeah, that's a very interesting observation. What that shows is exactly right. Who would have guessed that a bunch of communist Chinese run by one party would have the best economic record the world has ever seen? Of course it's extreme. And I think it proves that, it doesn't, we Americans would like to think that our free expression and allowing all kinds of opinion and all kinds of criticism of the government is totally essential part of the economy. And what the Chinese have proved is you can have a screamingly successful economy with a fairly controlling government. All the government has to do is create a lot of Smithian capitalism. And if you do that, having a sort of a controlling one-party government doesn't matter. That's not a fashionable thing to say, but I think it's true. BYD stock did nothing for the first 5 years we held it. And last year it quintupled. And what happened was that BYD is very well positioned for the transfer of Chinese automobile production from gasoline-driven cars to electricity-driven cars. You can't imagine, it's in a wonderful position. And that excited the people in China, which has its share of crazy speculators. And so the stock went way up. Since we admire the company and like its position, and we pay huge taxes to a combination of the federal government and the state of California when we sell something. And on balance, we hold in to certain of these positions when normally we wouldn't buy a new position. Practically everybody does that. The Munger family has invested in China substantially. And I did it because I respected the man who was going to do the investing. And it all looked inexpensive to me, and the companies looked very strong to me. And of course, this worked out. I've done way better than I had any right to expect.
Does it still look that way when you look to the Chinese markets?
I think that the best companies in China are cheaper than the best companies in the United States.
The concern other investors might have before they follow in that way is that they don't know that much about Chinese companies, and maybe
they're just generally afraid of China.
Is there a reason that they may have some? I mean, you have people who are guiding you who understand China well. If someone was trying to do this on their own, would it be a little more dangerous?
Sure, it really helps to understand the country you're operating in, of course.
All right, that's a stupid question moment. You would not necessarily advise others to do this, I guess is my point, for investors who are sitting at home watching.
I don't think it would be all that hard for any smart person to find 4 or 5 great companies in China to invest in.
It's becoming quite evident that Chinese companies could be banned from doing business in the Western world, or maybe some of the Eastern countries too, because of the number of the following reasons. 1, the security threat issues. 2, the potential conflict over Taiwan. 3, inability to meet Western accounting standards. And number 4, human rights issues. Considering all of the risks mentioned above, why would anyone as smart as Munger or Buffett consider investing in China or any of the Chinese companies?
Well, we did it for a very simple reason. We got more strength per dollar invested. In China, the companies we invest in are stronger relative to their competition and priced lower. That's why we're in China.
The transformation to retail, you said department stores are gone, but there seems to be at work a quite massive transformation of retail. Are we going to go back to Old Town Pasadena, for example? Or is the shift to online retail more
Well,
permanent?
I don't think retailing is going to go away. After all, it's been around for thousands of years. But certainly it's been a very difficult place to make money because of what the internet has done. I recently had a friend send me blue blazer made in China, bought on the Chinese internet, and it cost $42 delivered. It may not have been a perfect blazer, but it was an amazing blazer for $42. The person who created that blazer gave some little factory an order for 100,000 at once. And those have been pre-sold using the internet. And so it's the most extreme kind of kill all the competitors type of selling I've ever seen. Of course, retailing hasn't coped with something like that. How good is it for Brooks Brothers when somebody can deliver a thing to the internet from China for $42? It didn't look like that bad a blazer to me either. It's
So are you
amazing.
gonna wear it?
Retailing has gotten very tough. And I think this online stuff is here to stay, and we'll get more and more efficient. The other thing that's really remarkable, the last 30 years of China, they have had real economic growth at a rate for 30 years that no big country has ever had before in the history of the world. And who did that? A bunch of communist Chinese. Now that is really remarkable. So if you're studying finance, you got a lot of strange things to account for.
Charlie, Alibaba is a top 3 holding for you. It sells at a steep discount to its U.S. peers. Best comparable is Amazon, which is triple Alibaba's PE. So what discount should U.S. investors seek when buying Chinese stocks, considering the political, regulatory, and especially the ownership structure risk? Oh, and considering the fortune Berkshire made on your BYD suggestion, why doesn't Buffett buy Alibaba?
Well, Warren, like many other intelligent people, likes to invest where he's personally comfortable. And for some reason, I'm more comfortable with the Chinese than he is. That's a minor difference. But I have all kinds of places where I'm just like Warren. I have all kinds of things where I'm not comfortable, and I just don't go near them. I think an old guy is entitled to invest where he wants to invest in.
What makes you uncomfortable? What do you not?
It's okay to have some things that you just don't want to bother with.
Like crypto, I got
I don't
lots of
think
questions on
Alibaba
that.
I don't think Alibaba is as entrenched as something like Apple and Alphabet. I think the internet is going to be a very competitive place, even if you're a big internet retailer.